G'day to YouTube and welcome to this episode of the Gunman. So today I'm going to be doing a unboxing on a couple of these ANI spray guns. I've just received them from Spray Guns Direct out of the UK. They've sent me another R150, which was the mini gun, and 3 F150s. These are great spray guns and I definitely do rate them. They're probably one of the best cheap spray guns on the market. But in recent videos, especially in the review that I did on these, someone said I'd like to have a bit more of a close-up look at the gun and what I can expect when I get one. So let's unbox one. So as always, you've got your instructions. Should be a parts breakdown guide in there. Again, that's probably going to be the most useful part in the instructions. The rest of it you can just get from Gunman videos on your settings and all that. Now, here's the pot and here's the gun itself, and it just comes with a gun spanner. So, fairly straightforward gun. This one here is your fan adjustment. So, yep, forward was full fan. I found that full fan on this thing was probably a bit too much. They've got a monster fan on them. HPS 1.3 is this one here. They come in, I believe the full size gun comes in 1.2, 3, 4 and 7. So you could get a 1.7 for your primer, 1.2, 3 or 4 for your top coats and base coats. I believe 1.3 is a good all-rounder. You could use clear coat and base coats with that. However, if you're using some water base, you might want to even go for the 1.4 because it just gets that little bit more material out. That's with the Chromax Axalta. I've found they really like to go on quite wet. So, and yeah, these do definitely handle the water base quite well. The only real qualm about this gun that I had was the pot, and I've been speaking to Chris from Spray Guns Direct. It's just the seal on that lid. Like, most of the time it's okay, but over time I just found it just wasn't the best quality pot I've used. I will let you know though that the thread here is actually the same as a DeVilbiss pot, so if you've got a couple of old DeVilbiss pots sitting around that are still in good nick, that's something that you could swap over later on. And same thing, you can get if you use PPSs or RPS, whatever, that's got the same thread as most DeVilbiss, so the GTIs, the GTI Pros, the Pro Lights have the same thread as that, so you'll be able to use the same PPS adapters. So that's your fan, that's your pressure adjuster here. Max is this way. If you're running a regulator on your gun, always leave that at full because it'll actually stuff with, it'll muck up the readings. And that one is obviously your fluid gauge. So have a look at the air cap there. So they call it HPS, whatever that means. I've found that spray gun companies come up with all these different names for their air caps, but to me it's a conventional air cap. Fairly simple to pull apart, as are most guns. Okay, so they put a little bit of grease on there. Some people like to flush the gun through a couple of times with thinners before the first use, and it's probably not a bad idea because probably to stop it rusting or anything prior to you getting it, they sometimes put a little bit of oil on there, and I can sort of feel it's got a bit of an oily residue on it, so always worth keeping in mind. Give them a bit of a flush through. We'll pull the fluid tip off. Which one are we looking at? Okay, so that's a big one out there. I usually like to use a ring spanner when possible, but for these, because you can strip those threads, they obviously don't provide it with this gun, so just be careful you don't ruin it. Yes, it's on nice and tight. But yeah, for the price, these really are quite good guns. And as I was saying in another video and to a few of my friends, I would happily have 4 or 5 of these guns. You could use your base coat blender, your wet on wet. I'd personally prefer a better gun for clear coat. Not that there's anything wrong with using it for clear. I don't know, I'm a bit of a gun snob in a way. Like if a good gun works good, you know, I could still use it for clear, but I would personally, you know, just go for the better brand as much as anything. Go for the developers, go for the SATA, go for the iWater, something with a recognised brand name to it. Well, ANI, they're made in Italy, so you know they don't have a bad name. They're not like Star, they're not like those starting line guns from the developers, so they're sort of mid-range. Put this one back together quickly and open the other ones up. I believe they've sent me out a few different setups, so 1.3, maybe 1.4 and 1.7. Another little bit of a qualm about this gun is the finish on the body of it. You can see it's actually got a bit of a sort of a textured finish to it, so that actually makes paint stick to it, so they're not as easy to clean and keep clean as some of the other guns on the market. But again, that's really just a cosmetic thing. If the gun's spraying well for you, you know, it doesn't really matter too much if it's got a little bit of paint left over on the handle. It's not a great big deal. Alright, so we'll get into the minigun next up. Just a quick one. So they sent out a 1.0 mil last time, and I did a review on that, and I think I just about sold them out of their stock, and people actually had to wait for them to make more because I believe that ANI build their guns to order. And this one is the 1.2 mil, so I was quite surprised with the size of the fan for a minigun. I guess you'd nearly call it a minigun. It's not a full minigun. Got a real nice feel in the hand, and same settings and everything. So it's your fan, air pressure, and fluid. But obviously just the 1.2 on that there. So you'd still be able to pump out a nice amount of fluid with that. I would happily paint, and I have done, paint bumper bars. I personally wouldn't really want to do a bonnet with it. I'd just like to get that little bit of extra material on it. You could do a couple of single panels, you know, if you're just doing a couple of backyarders or something like that, and you just wanted to paint a guard or a door or something like that. But if I was going to go paint down an entire side at one time, I really wouldn't muck around with a minigun. Just takes that little bit extra time. Okay, so what else have we got in here? We got a toothbrush that can go in my bathroom. A little gun cleaning tool, very fine gun cleaning tool there. It's probably going to be handy to get inside those holes there if it gets clogged up at any point. Even use the back end of it there. And a slightly smaller gun spanner there. Let's get into the other boxes and see what the different size setups look like. I would imagine most of it's going to be exactly the same. So there's the 1.4. That was the one that I had and I did review. I reviewed the 1.4, and that sprayed the water base quite nice. I was very impressed with how it sprayed it. I was using that every day as my base coat blender gun. I ended up giving it to a mate of mine who does custom spray painting. As I said to him, and I believe I've said it in another video, I wouldn't give a friend of mine a dud gun. If I didn't rate this gun, I wouldn't give it to him, especially doing his custom painting. So there's your 1.4, and we'll see what is in door number 4. Okay, so it's 1.2. Yeah, now you can get the 1.7 as well. So I've got 1.2, 3 and 4. That's going to be a handy little addition to my spray gun setup. Let's get them side by side and see the difference between them. So I would imagine that unlike the DeVilbiss, you would not be able to swap the air caps over, so make sure you keep them separate, because it actually tells you on the air cap itself which size they are. So there we go, going from smallest to biggest, right to left. 1.2, 1.3 and 1.4. Give you guys another close-up look at these, and we'll just about call that a video. Now, they did send out a air regulator too. They don't last too long until they're just a dull sticker that you can't read anymore, but what do you expect? Anyway, I'll leave it at that for this vid, guys. Hope you've enjoyed. Give it a big thumbs up if you have. Now you've seen this video, get out there and paint some shit. Gunman out.